I know I've said this before in maybe a few past episodes where I've been like, after this episode, you're probably not going to like me, but it's fine because sometimes we just don't like the way certain things sound. I know I've said that before, but this particular episode, this time round, I triple mean it when I say a lot of you might understand. And how I know this is because it's one of the most uncomfortable topics for women to discuss amongst each other. And I guess we need to talk about married men, guys. We need to talk about it. Because and the chewing gum in my mouth is a paid actor for this episode. Because we're gonna have some sassy chewing for effect, because that is how irritating this episode is going to be. And I only say it's irritating because it's irritating for me to have to explain to women why they deserve to be treated better. Because if you need to explain to someone why they deserve to be treated better, that already implies that they don't even believe that they deserve better treatment, which then tells you that they've made peace and acceptance with a situation that should not even be there in the first place. And that is the plight of being married to men. So there are a lot of things that women have shared with me, whether it's married women, divorced women, sex workers who have a lot of contact with married men. And what's interesting is that people tend to say to me, or when they're speaking about me, I come across certain comments where people are like, well, why would you even be listening to a woman who isn't married? And they're referring to me, an unwed single woman. Why would you be listening to a woman who isn't married about men's behavior and how to find more happiness and fulfillment as a woman who dates men? Why would an unwed single woman know that? Or why would she even have any license to speak on it? Because marriage is seen as the final boss, the final ultimate marker of success in the realm of partnerships, romantic partnerships. And that especially counts for women. So when a woman is married, she's seen as a woman who she's done it, she's done the thing, right? She's made it. And if that married woman chooses to share ideas and insight on how to coexist with a man, how to do certain things with men, 101 of happy marriage and happy wife, happy life stuff. There are married women who they choose to make content about that, and they have an audience of women who really, really gravitate towards that, because for a lot of those women who are part of the audience, they probably believe that because this woman is married, then she has really strong opinions, not even really strong opinions, but her opinions are assigned enough verification and value because she's married, so it must mean that she's automatically right. Even if that woman is a super pick me who is like super religiously indoctrinated to double whammy the pick me, and her advice or her insights or her musings are along the lines of, as a married woman, yes, I am a traditional wife who believes that my husband is the head of the house. If he wants me to cook, if he wants me to clean, if he wants me to stay at home, I will do all that, because that's how God created it. And yeah, I'm totally happy being a stay-at-home wife, or even the married women who are not stay-at-home wives but who believe in submitting to their husbands. But then there's a huge demographic of women who make up the married majority, and those are the women who are, oh my God, they're like the antithesis to me. And those are the women who absolutely cannot stand my work. Those are the women who be like, yeah, but you're not even married, so what do you know? And I'm like, that's funny you say that, because 50% of marriages end in divorce, and men benefit from marriage more than women do. So if you're telling me that because I dodged the bullet that you've got wedged in your chest, that means that I am less, I'm less allowed to share my own ideas about men because you're married and therefore you did it right. You've completed all the tasks assigned to you, so you would know best. I don't think married women know best. I don't. Do you know who knows best? Divorced women. Do you know who knows even bester? Sex workers. If you want to be married, which I'm actually not against marriage, and I'll talk more in this conversation about how I would approach marriage, which if you've been listening to this podcast, you already know. But if you have just joined the conversation, we will be going into my own outlook on how marriage will apply for me if I decide to be married. But in terms of the conversation of like how married women are the people you probably should listen to least, and it's not because they are not correct in their own lived experience, because there are married women who actually have a lot to warn women about in terms of what you're really going to experience once that man and you become married, contractually bound to each other. Of course, there are valuable insights from married women, but what I'm saying is if you want to finesse this so that you can actually secure enough fulfillment for this to be worth it for you, listen to divorced women, listen to sex workers. A few days ago, I was sharing some responses that I got in my DMs to, I don't know if it was a podcast snippet of mine that I shared a comment of on my stories, and it started to snowball into this conversation about married men all of a sudden. And I was like, oh, this is interesting, because I have been kind of scared to talk about married men, not because I'm scared of married men. It's more just I'm scared of married women. I'm scared of you lot because it takes a certain level of being checked out of reality to decide that you are in fact going to stay bound to that man, despite the fact that you know you don't like it here. You secretly don't like it here, but you've convinced yourself to like it here enough for it to just keep you staying there. And you are so invested now that you can't really fathom or anticipate the idea of leaving, because the investment has now evolved into a place where you got children with that man. You got property with that man. Girl. So when married women hear me yapping, talking about something, I wouldn't do that. Or when married women hear me being like, if I was to be marrying a man, I am marrying for money. Because people be like, oh, but if a man is rich and he's giving you lots of money, that sounds loveless. Yeah, because somebody who hates you would give you a lot of their money, wouldn't they? Yeah, because that's how your haters behave, innit? Your haters pay you, yeah? That's so because all the men who have ever treated you horribly have given you money. Because all the people who have ever bullied you have been like, I hate you so much, I'm going to just fucking support you. And I think that ideology is just something that allows women to feel better about what they've done to themselves, i.e. binding themselves to a man who can't even financially protect them, because they'll be like, oh, men are protectors and providers. What's he protecting you from? Because the real scary bad beast out there is bills. It's bills, guys. It's bills. Ask me how I know. Because when people reach a place where they receive financial support, suddenly the depression is lifting from the body. Don't even try and lie and say that you don't feel more upbeat and prepared to stay on this earth a little longer when you come into some money and you realize that the weight of financial burden has been lifted. And this especially goes for the girlies who are actually making money. You lot know this, because if you are hashtag independent girly who like you got your own business, you're an influencer, you know that the recession has made the market shaky. And even before the recession, you're in a line of work that relies on you being liked. You're in a line of work that relies on you having to be on all the time or having to be really involved and focused on the internet to a certain degree. So you know that there will be days where it's harder and easier than others. And so when you experience those days where you're like, oh my goodness, I've just made a mass order of this product. Let's say you're an entrepreneurial type of woman. You've made a mass order of the product that you sell, and you're really hoping that enough people will buy it so you can either break even or at best profit and grow and scale the business. Those are situations that bring financial worry. And then you meet somebody who's like, what? You need 5K for that? Here's 7. I know you're gonna smash it. You have someone who's affirming you verbally and financially supporting you, and you're telling me life doesn't get easier when that happens. Girl, bye. So women who are married who picked the wrong man and are seeing the consequences of that, and they feel like they can't leave, they hate my podcast. They hate my podcast. But anyway, other day I was sharing some not even confessions, just like experiences from married women, divorced women, sex workers, and oh my goodness, the tea has been piping. And my stories were very alight that day. I'm going to read some of them for you. My stories were very, very engaged that day because the conversation really started to take a turn where so many women, it was a large majority of sex workers who were like, yeah, girl, all of our clients are married men. I mean, I'm not even shocked in that scream. It's more just like, you guys are going to really hate to hear a lot of this. You're not going to like this, but I think you need to see it, okay? This is better than going through your man's phone. This is like going through all men's phone at once. Because what the hell? So here's one. 35-year-old woman here. I recently got into camming and sugar babying. Men are hiding in bathrooms away from their families to spend money with us. The first compliment I often get is, "You're so much hotter than my wife." The disrespect. Complaining about how much they hate their lives and their spouses, but won't leave. These men use women for childcare, cooks, and cleaners, with little regard for them as actual human beings. Are you hearing that? So if you're wondering what camming is, you know what Babe Station is? Babe Station is a channel on television in the UK, and it's like towards the end of the channel register, and it's women on camera where you can like live chat with them. Maybe you can like send an SMS message and she will reply in real time as she reads out your message, and she's not naked, but she's like, scantily clad, touching titties and just providing wank material. That's sex work. Sugar babying, which I think is a lot more of a common phrase, maybe people will be more familiar with that, but if you don't know, sugar babying is basically another form of sex work where you are essentially selling the girlfriend experience to a man that you're not committed to. He's committed financially to you for the duration of that agreed arrangement, but he takes you shopping, sends you money, buys you things, you go on vacations together. There's an agreed, or there is a mutually, it's not even a contract, but it's just sort of like a way that you've both agreed to work where, you sleep with each other, maybe not. Not every sugar baby sleeps with their sugar provider. But it's interesting because, yes, of course, a 35-year-old woman who is a cam girl and a sugar baby would have that experience, because you have to understand that the men who have the confidence and the income to be able to lead such a lifestyle are usually men who are older. Of course, there are young men who pull the same stance, but it's usually men who are older, because when you look at the careers that still remain traditional in our society, like being a lawyer or being a doctor or anything that's a traditional vocation, usually most of the time it takes you being in that career for a long time for you to have worked your way up to a level where you're on the salary of being like a CEO or a partner. CEO and partner, especially that word partner. If you meet a guy and he says he's a partner, Ooh, you're a partner. Let me just adjust my dress well. You say you're a partner. Guys, partner usually points to money. So just look at, if you hear partner, start gingering yourself well. Adjust your shirt well. Anyway, a lot of these men who are in careers like that, they're in their late 40s and above. And usually men of that age, most of them are married. And most men, they marry the woman who is just around at the time when they have caved into the pressure of being married because they're realizing, okay, I'm getting kind of older now. Need to start laying the foundation for who's going to look after me when I get old and who's going to look after me while I'm still alive and give me free pussy and free emotional labor and to tidy my house for me. Yeah, time to marry a wife. So they marry wives who they're probably not that attracted to or who they were initially attracted to, but then they got too comfortable. And this is why I'm largely against younger women getting married, but we'll touch on that. But they marry wives who they've gotten too comfortable with their wives have gotten too comfortable with them. They don't feel any urgency or reason to keep chasing their wife because their wife has decided to just turn off her engine and just sit there now. You can have me now. Nothing to work for here. And so these men get bored. And I'm not blaming anything on women. I'm observing and addressing what this situation usually looks like from the inside. Because what we see on the outside is the man's behavior. Like, oh my God, he cheated on you? Shock horror. But if you go into the ideology with a mindset of, yeah, but men are going to do that anyway. What can you do to prepare yourself for that? What can you do to be one step ahead? Because they're going to do that anyway. And part of being one step ahead is knowing what they're going to do anyway. Now, what are you going to do about what you know? You're going to use your brain, right? But it doesn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me that these men will be giving their money to sex workers who they're never going to meet. And they will still lie to their wives that they haven't got that much money so they can be going halves with their wives. Oh, imagine marrying a man and you're still splitting bills with him. What's the man there for? You fucking shot an own goal. You hustled backwards, babe. Why did you do that? Because of love. Well, look where that's gotten you. You're a statistic now. You thought you were exceptional, which you inherently are as a human being, but not in the realm of dating men. You have to make yourself exceptional by moving mad. And moving mad means always being ready to move on. That is exceptional behavior, bro. Because if you are constantly ready to patch and mend things, oh, I see where you're coming from. Fine, I forgive you. I'm going to stay then. They know that they can just keep on doing it to you. But if you pull a wild card and you maybe cheat back or you spend another man's money, which men consider cheating if you're married to them or if you're dating them, you'd be surprised. Or if you start to emotionally cut them off, detach from them, stop being around as often, and they start to feel that panic, that's the only way you can make marriage work for you. But these women, they're not doing that. They're there staying. They're there just, I will not be moved. It's like, yeah, you will not be moved. Stay there then. Because these men feel comfortable enough to say that the sex workers they're giving money is much hotter than you. How do you feel about that, babe? Personally, I wouldn't have that. I'm not trying to start something, but personally, I wouldn't have that. And this is nothing against sex workers. Okay? Because I fully support sex work. I'm just saying, babe, how do you feel about that? How do you feel knowing that your husband is telling women on the internet that they're hotter than you? Doesn't sound very nice. Personally, I wouldn't have that. I'm just saying. Because these men complain about how much they hate their lives and how much they hate you, but they're not going to leave you because you've become their maiden. How do you feel about that? What are you going to do about that, babe? I think that's something you might need to pay attention to because this is sounding a bit mad still. Would you like me to read another entry from a sex worker? Don't know if you want to hear this one, but here goes. This person said, "True, I'm a sex worker too. They really seem to marry someone who will not only do the traditional gender roles, but also buys their bullshit. I've noticed that the wives actually think they are married to a good guy. And they typically say she doesn't want sex anymore or she let herself go after kids. They do not respect who they marry. It makes me never want to be a wife." How do you feel about that? Because personally, I wouldn't have that. I'm just saying now. I'm just saying. Personally, I wouldn't have that. I'm not trying to start that one, but I'm just saying, if I was married and I heard that this is what's happening in the secret society of sex workers, which is not that secret of a society, by the way, because it's like they walk among us. And if you're a woman who can put two brain cells together and clock that men are not people who deserve free love, you gonna find your way to make what you got work for you, because you have a gold mine between your legs, and men can never find that gold elsewhere. But let's not even divulge too much on that one. What I will say is, did you hear? They said that you lot think you've actually married a good guy. Men get by on you thinking they're a good guy. See, there's a difference between a good guy and a good boy. And we may need to quickly dip our toes in dominatrix territory for context. If you're not familiar with my podcast, I am a dominatrix, not a professional dom, because that would take up a lot of my time, and I wish I could give more time to that. But that is a whole different conversation in itself. And whilst I would want to say I'm a lifestyle dom, I don't even know if I'm that involved in a lifestyle enough to call myself that. Like, I don't have a man who lives in my house in a cage. I don't have a sub that I regularly engage with per se. I kind of hire and fire subs very quickly. And hiring is even a reach, because some of them, they don't even actually have clear roles. They're just there to be a vibe and just do what I need them to do for that moment. But as someone who's a dominatrix, I can tell you there's a difference between a good guy, in air quotes, and a good boy. We don't do, oh, he's a good guy. We don't do that around here. We do, he's a good boy. And you know, the only way for a man to be a good boy is if he does what he's been told. So if you've given him specific tasks and he has executed them to a standard of excellence and going above and beyond, that's a good boy. If he has made promises and he continues to keep them, that's a good boy. If he unprovoked sends you cash along with the good morning goddess text, that's a what? A good boy. And I'm not talking a measly £50. I'm talking from 4 figures and up. Or maybe even let's 3 figures and up. That's a good boy. If if he only speaks to you to arrange plans on how he wants to please you, that's a good boy. Now, if we're talking about what a good guy is, most of them definitions are fluffy things like he's a good listener. It's like, do you ever call women a good listener and attribute that to why they're a good woman? Do we even call women good women? Do we even acknowledge women's goodness, or do we expect them to be inherently good? Because if we're going to go down the lane of what makes a good woman, it's just her mewling. Oh, a good woman. Oh, yeah. She makes herself emotionally available for her husband and like absorbs all his problems, cooks and cleans up after him. Wow, Proverbs 31 woman. Yeah. Anyway, but when we look at what a good guy is, he's doing shit that he was supposed to do anyway. Wow, he's such a good guy. He held the door open. Such a good guy. He saw that you had your period and he used his own convenience of not being in any pain whatsoever and got you some period pads and medication. Wow, such a good guy. It's almost like men who like you should actually be nice to you. Men are such good guys when they're actually nice to you. Wow, I'm gonna marry him. He's such a good guy. Can you see how that good guy phrase is redundant? Because I'm not saying that there are no good men in the world. It's just what we have to focus on is how we define good and who we assign that goodness to. What does our own spectrum of judgment looks like for what we consider a good guy? Because for two women can both have very different definitions of a good guy depending on what they lack in their lives and how low their expectations are of men, which feeds into who they're likely to marry based on what they think is a good guy. If you have never known validation for most of your life and you've constantly been badly treated by men, of course the first guy who doesn't raise his voice at you and who, I don't know, like is nice to you, I guess, and who looks good on the outside, yeah, you're gonna be like, I'm gonna marry him, he's a good guy. Is that all it takes for you to marry a guy, him being a good guy? Because if women were chosen to be wives based on us being good women, we would all be married. We would all be in super high demand. You wouldn't even catch a chance to be single because men would be like, a good woman. You're never going to find a good woman these days. Where are all the good women? It's so rare that you come. I must take her off the market. I must snatch her up. A good woman. It's so rare that you're going to come across a woman who will take on most of the household labor. It is so rare that you're going to come across a woman who will carry your child for 9 months and still go to work. Where are you ever going to see that anywhere? It is so rare that you're going to come across a woman who will like you for who you are, no matter how insufferable you become. It's so rare that you're going to find that. So I must snatch up this good woman. If that's how men thought, your life and mine would look completely different. So let's not cap. Let's not lie. Let's not do that. So I'm once again asking, what do you mean by a good guy? Because if you lot are all thinking that you've married a good one, you're in for a fucking shock horror. Big shock horror. Because are you hearing what my girl just said? She said she's a sex worker. And from what she's observed, the wives actually think they're married to a good guy. And the husbands are saying, oh, she doesn't want sex anymore. And that you've let yourself go, apparently. Especially after you had them kids that you nearly died for to have. You nearly died having his kids and he has the nerve to tell you that you let yourself go. How do you feel about that? Because personally, I'm not trying to start nothing, but I wouldn't have that if I was you. I'm just saying. They think you've let yourself go. You had a knife sliced through skin, tissue, and organs for his child that he knotted into you to be brought earthside. You survived the healing period of you having skin, tissue, muscle, and organ sliced through. And the man that you took that life-risking chance for has the nerve to say that you let yourself go because you don't look like a washboard abbed 24-year-old that he once knotted inside of. How do you feel about that? How do you feel about that? Because they're saying that you don't want sex anymore after you have survived the trauma of pushing out a person, enduring postpartum depression, and having a lower than usual libido because your hormones are still evening out after you spent almost a year growing a human being that has bones, muscles, tissues, and a brain. How do you feel about that? Because personally, I wouldn't have that. I'm just saying. I'm not trying to start nothing, but I'm just saying, if I was you, I would not fucking have that. I would not fucking have a man tell me that because I don't want to have sex anymore, that is his license to go and have sex with other people. Because the reality is, right, let's not cap. Even if you married a man who's got money and is doing all the things, there is no guarantee that he still won't behave like this after you have torn your body inside out to bring a person into the world. He could still go and press someone else's nyash, but at least if there is money involved here and you've contractually approached this in such a way where if you divorce him, you're leaving with a lot of his money and you're leaving with properties in your name and you are leaving with all kinds of legal protections in your favor that he put in place when he was talking about he wants to marry you. How different do you think that divorce will look to the divorce of a woman who has nothing to show for marrying that man other than babies, a stretched out stomach, and residual resentment? Who leaves with more in both the scenarios I just detailed? Is it the woman who financially protected herself that will leave with more? Or is it the woman who romantically wrapped herself in some fluffy cotton who will leave with more? Let's figure that one out. Should we do some maths here? Who do we think is going to leave looking less stupid? Who do we think is going to leave looking less stupid? Because I think it's such a hard one. Oh, I don't know. Which one do I pick? Wow. This is so hard to pick. I think I'm going to go with the woman who financially protected herself. Yeah, I think she's going to leave with more. So even if she gets her feelings hurt, she's not going to be set back financially. She's not going to feel stuck with this man. She's not going to have any reason to actually stay unless she sees this man pull a wild stunt and a half to keep her. A lot of these vacations, houses, posh cars, you're seeing women being gifted by their partners. Those are I'm sorry gifts. Some of the most powerful gifts women have received, and I'm talking large sums of cash and properties, some of those gifts have come from men apologizing. It's not even been from them being like, oh, I'm so in love with you that I want to buy you a house. I'm so in love with you that I want to buy you a new car. Nope. A lot of these things you're seeing women wielding, they're I'm sorry gifts. I'm going to let you think about that while that sinks in for a brief moment, because I think you haven't deeped it. You have not deeped it. And that's why you have a perception that is riddled with, oh, this feels unrealistic. Because it sounds unrealistic to think, oh, if a man loves you, he's going to buy you a house, buy you a car, give you money, take you on vacation, take you shopping all the time. Money, 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 blah, 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 without him killing you. Because that sounds unrealistic. Okay, how about, let's look at it this way. If a man loves you, he's going to, of course, where it feels right for him, he might buy you gifts, take you on vacation, shopping, send you money. And because he's so invested in you, if he does something that puts you in a position where he now has been confronted with the possibility of losing you, what's he going to do to try and win you back? Because if him doing all these gestures for you was out of his love for you while you were still there, if that man wants to keep you in his life, what efforts do you think he's going to undergo to keep you? Don't you think he's going to outdo the efforts he made to keep you so that he can really show, I am serious, I am sorry, I am sorry. I have bought you the car that you said you wanted. Please, can this be a gesture of me showing you how sorry I am? The car is in your name and I have already set up a direct debit to pay it off monthly so that it can also boost your credit score for you. So not only am I using this car as a symbol of my sorry towards you, I would also like to make my reparations evident in me helping you boost your credit so that you can have more financial freedom as a woman who I care about, because I love you so much that I don't want to control you. I don't want to keep you confined to me. I want you to be financially empowered enough so that you can start your own business and I can still support you, and you have enough credit so that if you want to use the money I've given you to buy yourself another car or buy yourself a house, you can do that. I'm just here to exaggerate your existing empowerment as a man. That's it. By the way, that's not unrealistic. That can happen for you. So the women who have married a man who's empty-handed, shit is looking mad peak right now. If you are considering leaving and you're like, oh man, I've been with this guy for 12 years. Everyone thinks we're happily married. He's not paying any bills. He's draining me and he's calling me fat. Even though fat is not an insult, when men use the word fat, they don't mean it to be like, oh, this person is a larger bodied person. No, they're using fat as an insult, and they're using fat as a way to bring you down, to bring up another woman, especially when they're talking about you to sex workers. So just understand that the way we use language is not the way men use it, and that's why we have to also understand that the way we approach empowerment is not the way men approach empowerment, because us and men are not oppressed the same. So if you're like, oh, it's empowering to have to have a male partner who I can just pour all my love to him because I have so much love to give, and I'm empowered by giving so much love. These men just think you're fucking deluded and easy to manipulate because you are giving so much so freely, and they feel empowered by how much you're giving to them so freely because it exaggerates their king complex. Some of these men who don't have two pennies to rub together still see themselves as a king, when we have to look at the fact that words mean things, okay? A king is a person that rules over land and has assets and is a literal piece of royalty. Okay? And if we're calling people a king, then yeah, you need to have a lot of things to be a king. Okay? Don't know what else to say about that, to be honest, because I know that's not going to sound very nice. But that's the reality. So if you're going to call yourself a king, just behave like one. That's what I'm saying. Because when I say the same thing about women, when I'm like, if you're going to call yourself a queen, you need to behave like one, babe. You can't just be appropriating words. So if you're going to call yourself a queen does not text a man 3 times after he has ignored her. Is she going to do that? No, because she's a queen. A queen does not ask a man, hey, are we still on for our date today, if on the day of the date he's not contacted her. A queen will probably already have other plans lined up, possibly even another date. So if you're going to call yourself a queen, behave like one. Now, if a man's going to call himself a king, he needs to behave like one. He needs to be a gentleman. He needs to serve before he even leads. He needs to have money. So if you don't have those things, and you're not prepared to be any of those things, find another word that will empower you. Because we need to stay rooted in reality for things to work, innit? But I think it's time that I read another anonymous DM that I received. This person said, I'm still fit and fairly hot in my early 60s. The number of married men looking to get laid as if they deserve a fun, hot chick, in addition to the wife they have at home who makes their life easier, is unreal. So just when you thought that, oh yeah, I'm only going to be hot in my 20s and my 30s, and then men told me that I decrease in value after 30 if I'm unwed, and also if I sleep with loads of guys, my pussy's going to expand and his dick is going to feel loose inside me, and yeah, if I'm 60 no one's going to want me. Well, what do you say to this? Because this is a woman who is in her 60s who is still fairly hot, and I'm sure she's downplaying it by saying fairly hot. I'm sure she's fucking stunning, because you know how women are conditioned to downplay our greatness. She's a 60-year-old woman, and she still has married men trying to press her breast. What do we say to that? Should we think about that briefly? We've got a lot to unpack in that very brief message, because, again, like I said, people think life ends at 35. You're like, oh no, I've passed 35. I'm unwed. No one's going to want to be with me anymore because I'm 35 and unwed, and men think that I should only be desired when I'm 24 years old, specifically 24 years old. Nothing older than 24 years old. Anything after that, I am finished, rotten, expired, deceased, decomposed. And then you hear a 60-year-old woman tell you, actually, nah, not going to lie, babe, I'm 60 and they're still trying to press. What does that tell you? For the people in the back who are like, oh, I'm running out of time. I'm not married and I'm 29 and I'm not married. Do you think I'm going to have a future? You can, girl, I'm telling you, you could be 60 and trying to mind your business. Men will still disturb you even in your 60s. That's why I keep saying you don't need to be desperate with men. You have all the time in the world to date. You have all the time in the world to ignore men. You have all the time in the world to be pestered by men. You have all the time in the world to get validation from men if that's what you value from them, because they don't be leaving women alone, even when you're 60, as you have heard from this 60-year-old woman who has married men coming for her. What does that tell you? Right then. So I think it's time that we read another DM that I got. You are probably not going to like this one. If you hated what you've heard so far, this one's really going to annoy you. So just brace yourself in it. This person has said, I should add that Christmas Day was my busiest day on camming. So while the wives, etc., are running around, making themselves ill, creating the magic of Christmas, men were sitting on sofas, talking shit about them, and paying women they don't even know to listen to their bullshit talking shit about their wives. Did you hear that? Do I need to read that again for you? Or is that settling in where it needs to go? Because personally, I wouldn't have that. I'm just saying, personally, I wouldn't have that. Have you heard? The Christmas day that you are wearing matching pajamas. When he went to the toilet for a long time, what do you think he was doing? He was on OnlyFans talking to his baby, his ex-ma's baby. Wow, guys. Personally, I wouldn't have that. I'm just saying. Not trying to start nothing, but I wouldn't have that. The sex workers are telling us, guys, that while you lot are creating the magic of Christmas, men are talking shit about you to the women they're cheating on you with. I've got another one to read. And this one stung to hear. I'm not going to lie. She said, my partner left me during cancer treatment. Your book and podcast have helped me so much. Thank you for the wisdom. If you've been listening to this podcast for a while, you've probably heard me talk about the fact that, yeah, there are crazy statistics out there that show the ratio of women who stay with their male partners when they get seriously ill versus the men who stay with their women partners when those women get seriously ill. And similar statistics are reflected when we look at prison visits. The amount of men who come to visit women in prison versus the amount of women who come to visit men in prison. You can see how the visitor waiting room looks almost derelict in the women's department versus what the visitor room looks like in the men's department of the prison, and how those seats are filled out with women. So you could be married to a man and you can become disabled, whether that's through pregnancy, through illness, through injury. Anything can happen. Any of us can become disabled in this life, because the same way any of us can die, any of us can become disabled, any of us can encounter a situation we're not prepared for. And if you don't have the right support around you, that can make your experience even harder, especially if you're a disabled person. And life should not necessarily be hard for you because you have disabilities. You deserve community and you deserve people to be around for you. And you deserve for the world around you to be accommodated for you to have the access you deserve and need. And if you're a woman who is married to a man, you deserve for your partner to take on a role where he will be playing a position of taking care of you physically if he needs to. So if you cannot swear on your life that if you were to marry this man and something happens to you where you need very hands-on care from your partner, if you can't swear on your life that he would administer that care for you for the long run, for the foreseeable, and you can make that, you can swear that on your life because you've already seen how he treats you so far. You know it in the depth of your bones. But if you cannot swear on your life that man's going to become a primary carer of yours, should you need that level of care, why are you marrying him? Because the reality is, yeah, what do people think the vow in sickness and health means? Because men take those same vows, but we do not see them showing up for women in the ways that women show up for men. They're out here telling you that you let yourself go from just surviving a fucking C-section or a vaginal birth. Let alone you developing a chronic illness or you being in a situation where you need long-term support, hands-on support. You're going to bank on a man doing that and you're going to marry him in the hopes that he will develop enough empathy that he hasn't already shown you that he's got. You in danger, girl. Let alone something as sensitive as cancer. That could happen to anyone. And the fact that a man would leave you when you're going through treatment, oh my God. And you're telling me that if hearing that does not make you think I need to change the way that I approach being around men and dating them, if at all I'm still going to date them, if that doesn't make you reassess your approach, I don't know what will. Because that could be, it doesn't matter how healthy your lifestyle is, by the way, because some people are prone to it in a hereditary manner. Or if you're exposed to something that leads to you developing cancer, or if you are unlucky enough to be bound to a man who stresses you enough for you to have a prevalent amount of cortisol in your body, that turns to cancer. Just by being around men, women's risk of cancer is increased because of the stress. And you're telling me the person who causes that in you will probably not look after you anyway. Welp. Another person said, I did sex work for almost a decade and the shade they gave their poor wives, I just couldn't anymore. Fucking parasites, aka men. I'm telling you, people who are like, I only take advice from married women. Okay, let's see how that works out for you, because 50% of marriages end in divorce anyway, and most married women are unhappy. So you keep on doing that. Let me know how that works out for you. Best of luck, because you're definitely gonna need it. Another person said, absolute truth. It was my Irish Catholic mom's advice to marry someone who loves me more. I also worked for years in an STD clinic. They're all cheating. Did you hear that? Somebody who works in a sexual health clinic. She's seeing a lot of married men with STIs. Where are they getting STIs from if their wives are only sleeping with them? You don't just catch an STI out of the sky. Wow. And a lot of these men, they don't even tell their wives that they've got an STI, because that would give away that they've cheated. So what do? They quietly pass it on to their wife. That's fucked up. Personally, I wouldn't have that. I'm just saying. Guys, that's fucked up. I'm sorry, what? Again, I started this episode by saying a lot of you are not gonna like me after this episode, because I'm not even gonna cap here. It is a very uncomfortable and hurtful thing to hear when you have you've married the love of your life, as you know it. You've married the love of your life. You're happy. You are happily married in your definition. You're content. Or at least you believe you're content in your marriage. And here comes this fucking woman with a purple background telling you that, girl, you might want to look into that thing you call a marriage, because I don't know if that man's going to be faithful to you for the foreseeable. And also, did you financially protect yourself in this contract that you've bound yourself to? Because he's probably going to cheat, babe, and you want to make sure that you benefit from that, because it's going to happen, just so you know. I don't know if you've heard. Imagine someone saying that to you, or imagine you coming across that information unprovoked. It's not a nice feeling. So I'm saying all this to say, I actually genuinely do have compassion and empathy towards women who don't like my work, because I understand that it's no one necessarily needs to hear any of this. It's not about me believing that you need to stop what you're doing and listen to me right now. It's not that. It's more just you would benefit from hearing certain things that you might not be used to hearing. Because even if you don't agree with how I say it or what I'm actually saying, it opens up a thought channel for you to explore in your own space, in your own way, with your own experiences and with your own insight and your own wisdom and your own knowledge with what's going on around you. That's what I'm here to do. I'm not here to be like, oh, I'm right, and you must agree with everything. Because the reality is, it takes a level of self-esteem to even agree with what I'm saying, let alone apply it. And not everybody has self-esteem. And that is a Sagittarius in me absolutely jumping through the middle of me. But you lot are hearing it. These men are out here passing STIs to their wives. People out here being like, oh man, that Slumflower girl, she just hates men. She's anti-marriage. I mean, I'll be anti any institution that gets by on oppressing me. And the only way I'm going to opt into that institution is if I can make it work for me. Marriage is not inherently bad, in my opinion. If you do it well, marriage can set you good for life, girl. Marriage is the one place where you can access upward social mobility without you having to do much. Whereas men cannot necessarily do that. Unfortunately, there are bums now. There are bummy men who access upward social mobility by marrying women who have more money than them. And listen, if you've been listening to our podcast long enough, you know how I feel about that breadwinner thing. You know how I feel about that breadwinner wife thing. And I'm being careful with my words here because, again, being a breadwinner wife, it comes from you just being a really loving person, I guess. And you probably you have enough going for you. You have a lot. So you don't feel as conscious about giving it away or sharing it with someone you love. That's fine, but you're a woman. You are a woman. So if you're pouring into a man, you're doing it backwards. And I think the women who are most sensitive to my work is the breadwinner women who have married those men and they secretly know deep down that that man has probably cheated. That man has done something that's enough for it to be considered cheating in her eyes. And she's still going to stay, because if she divorces him, he's probably going to take half the money at the time when she married him. He's going to take half of her money on top of her being a breadwinner. That would make me, I'm going to fucking lose it. I'm going to tear my singlet. I'm angry. Ah, Jesus. Imagine marrying a man and he still gets, brother, what's that, brother? What is that? I'm vexed on you lot's behalf. I'm not saying this to be catty or to be self-righteous or to be like, oh, wow, that sounds like a really whack decision. Boo. Because it takes a lot to stay with that situation, knowing deep down you're not happy. It's not a nice place to be. And then if you're already secretly unhappy, but you're working really hard to convince yourself you're happy, and then here comes this fucking Slumflower lady being like, you're a breadwinner to a man who's cheating, and he's giving your money to women on OnlyFans and sex workers, and he ain't giving none to you. Girl, you're on the wrong side of the pitch. You just scored another own goal. Girl. I'm holding your hand as I say this. You need to pattern yourself. If you are not already married, you have got time to pattern yourself. If you're already married and you're already in this situation I just described, I don't even know what to say, babe, because true say, I'm actually not even married. So this is the one time when I agree. Don't even listen to me, babe, because I don't actually have the lived experience of marrying a man who has less money than me. I have no real estate in that conversation, because my only knowledge of being in anything that resembles that is I'm out here. But you can't just be out of here. You cannot just do that if you're gonna financially lose out on divorcing him. So you got to find your own way to make that work for you. Now, if I was you, here's the wild card I would pull. But again, not many women will do this because they're not as mad as me and they don't have the self-esteem. And it's not me being shady. It's just like self-esteem is what informs the risks we take, right? And it is considered a risk to do what I'm about to say. If I was you and I was a breadwinner to a man who is fucking useless to me, the man that I would cheat on him with would have enough money where whatever I lose in parting ways with that man, I'm going to gain it back threefold with the new guy. So you have to cheat upwards so you can right your wrongs with what you did where you married backwards. You have to now even it out by cheating upwards. Upwards social mobility. Cheat with a man who has 5 times what you're making. If you're making enough to look after yourself, your kids, and that man, find you a man who can afford to look after himself. 3 of your situation over. 3 times over. That's you and your kids. He can afford to look after you 3 times over. So that when you do inevitably split with half of your money, when you divorce that man, you've made that money back already tenfold with your new guy. And now, if you're going to marry your new guy, you have now got the awareness to approach this properly. You're going to get properties in your name by that guy. You're going to be financially supported and still have your own money. You deserve both and all. Yes, because you're a woman. You bring so much value to that man's life. That's why he wants to marry you. Men marry because they're getting something out of it. Men marry because they benefit from it, and you need to make sure you're benefiting from it too. So if you're feeling stuck in a situation where you're the breadwinner, or that man is just gonna get a lot of things when you leave him, get you a man who has got a lot of things so you can replace that thing that you lost. Because in anything that is hard to walk away from, there's something you're gonna lose. There's something you're going to lose, but it'll be worth it. And it's okay to mourn leaving that thing behind. Even if that's money. If you're a breadwinner woman and you're parting ways with big money because that's how you entered the contract, you've now learnt that the person who writes the contract benefits the most. And if the contract of marriage has been created by the men who enforce laws, they've written it to protect themselves, babe. So what are you going to do to get your benefit from that? Because whilst, yes, men benefit the most from marriage, it doesn't mean that there are not women who are benefiting from marriage. What does that benefit look like for them? Because even the new guy that you're about to marry, who's got tenfold what the guy you was feeding has got, that new guy will probably cheat in his own way. Are you going to keep on leaving men because they cheat? Because you're going from one cheater to another. So if you're going to be going from one cheater to another, don't be going from one broke cheating man to another broke cheating man. That's stupid. Go from one wealthy cheating ass man to another wealthy cheating ass man, so that they're all undoing the other guy's mistake and you're not losing anything in the process other than fucking time you wasted. But if that's cheating, Not even cheating. Dating is optional. Being with men is optional. So if you're choosing to date men, you're opting into having your time wasted to a certain degree. How will you be remunerated for that time you've lost? Because it's time you're not going to get back. But if you get money, if you leave that situation knowing that you've left with more than you came with, you've won. Your time did not go to waste in the grand scheme of things. But if you go into that because, feelings and I'm in love, switch it on. Switch your brain on, girl. You leave a situation where you were only there for feelings and you now you got nothing to show for it. Now you look and feel stupid. You look stupid, you feel stupid. And feeling stupid is what extends that depression. You're going to wish you did it differently, but there's a way out. And the way out is a risky way out. But that's because the situation you're already in is hard. It's going to be hard to leave, but it's not impossible. Because you got to decide, do I want to take this risk of patterning my way into a better life and escaping this man, or do I want to just stay because I'm scared it's not going to get any better? You decide that for yourself, but that's why a lot of married women hate my work, because they secretly know they don't even have the willpower to get out. They're just there. And then here I come being like, oh, girl, I would not have that. Yikes. Anybody who has scuffled and fought so hard for something, if they see another person being like, ew, I would not even tolerate that, they're going to feel really offended that somebody wouldn't even settle for the thing that they think is the best thing they could ever find in their life. For some women, being married is the best thing that's ever happened to them. And here comes another woman being like, oh, girl, being married to a man, make sure he's got money. Make sure that you are financially set good, because he's going to cheat, by the way. And the one that you cheat back on him with will also cheat on you, because that's what men do. It's not an inherent flaw on your part. If you can anticipate something is going to happen, then you can prepare for it. Preparing isn't preventative. It's just preparation. Preparation means you're one step ahead. When you're prepared, you're less shocked. When you're less shocked, you can be more rational. When you're more rational, you can get what you need out of that situation, because the man's either going to be sorry or he's going to be arrogant. If the man is sorry, you can really make that forgiveness work for you, because you fucking deserve that, because that's the emotional inconvenience caused because you trusted him and he broke that trust. How will he repair that trust? By him paying out of his fucking pocket. He has to be fined for that. If you're not going to do that, then girl, you're just in a circus that you chose to be in. So I don't feel sorry for you. I don't, because you know better. You don't want to do better because you're scared. On to the next message that I got from another woman. As a single woman, most of my suitors, or the men who are the nicest to me, are married men with children. They make me sick. I'm not surprised by that at all. Married men are the most available men. They are so available. Because when you think about it, they've already got a woman at home. So they can afford to just try something out. Because even if you don't accept them, they still are not going to be left alone. Men fear being alone more than anything. If a man is not alone, if he's got a wife at home, he's gonna get good at flirting, because he's gonna be like, wait, I can actually experiment with this now and see what gets this woman excited. And also, because he's already got a wife at home, he has enough knowledge of what women like. That's why married men have the most suave, they're the most smooth, they're the most gentlemanly, because they've had enough practice, bro. The Riz obviously worked enough for someone to marry them, so they know that they've got a baseline of Riz already there. They know that. If a man knows he's got nothing to lose, he's going to take all kinds of crazy risks. Men are more risk inclined than women are. Apparently, that's why men tend to, aside from patriarchy being in their favor, but apparently that's why men tend to succeed more in business, because they can take more risks. Because men are just more risk inclined. So if a man is married and he knows his wife's not going to find out, he's going to do what he's going to do what he wants. If he knows that you're not going to find out, why would he be like, oh, I wouldn't even want... You think a man thinks like you think a man's a woman, you think a man's going to be like, oh, just the idea of me doing that. My wife would be upset at the idea of me doing that. My wife would be upset at the idea of me doing that. Let me not even hurt her hypothetical feelings. Men are not you. Men are not you. You as a woman, you would not cheat on your partner unprovoked, because you're like, oh, but like, if he was to, like, the idea of even looking at another man, oh my God, that would hurt my man's feelings. And I just love my man so much that I could not even look at another man. Okay, good for you, but your man's looking at someone else, just so you know. Just so you know. So, what do you want to do about that? Quickly, what do you want to do about that? Men are not women. Men are not going to be like, oh, if my wife ever found out. There's no if my wife ever found out, because there are scenarios where the wife is never going to find out, especially if they're just flirting with a woman in the streets who probably isn't going to give the woman, probably isn't going to give the guy her number anyway. If a married man is in the street and he flirts with a woman and she doesn't give the number, he still got what he wanted out of that interaction. Even if he didn't get everything he wanted, he still got something of what he wanted, which is just a woman's interaction and to look at a pretty woman up close and to just siphon a bit of her energy. Especially exciting, foreign, fresh energy that is not his wife. Men get by on the excitement of that. It makes them aroused. You're not a man, so you're not going to be behaving like one. That's why women can't fathom the idea of a married man doing that. You need to start learning to fathom it. You need to fathom it. You need to start learning to fathom that men are capable of fucking fucked up things, especially if you're married to them. Fathom it, because it will help you to deal with it when it inevitably happens. You will not lose your mind and end up sectioned because a man has given you the jeepers creepers surprise of your life by cheating on you. There are women in mental homes right now because of what a man has done to them. This shit is not funny. There are women in mental homes right now because of what a man has done to them. There are ways to avoid being in that situation. There are ways. And part of that is learning to accept that a man's going to do what he's going to do anyway. No matter how much he says he loves you, no matter how much he shows he loves you, he's still a man. And it's not about you anticipating it and being like, oh, he's going to cheat on me. It's about understanding that if it happens, it's because he's a man. And now you get to benefit from him doing that. You should be benefiting from men's mistakes so that next time if they want to make a wild mistake again, they'll think twice about it. Or else if they don't feel any consequence, they'll do it again. And you being hurt is not consequence for men. Because they know that it's just feelings. You'll get over it. If they just kiss you enough and be nice to you enough and grovel enough, if you get by on men groveling and you get the ego rush of a guy being sorry, I'm going to write you a letter, I'm sorry, I really mean it this time, I'm sorry, it won't happen again. If you get by on just words alone, then they know they can just use words to get you. But if a man who you trusted breaks your trust and you knew it was going to happen, you didn't know how it was going to happen, you didn't know when it was going to happen, but you just know that at some point a man is going to man. When it happens, you're going to be cool, calm, and fucking collected because you're like, oh, really? I'm pissed off. Do not speak to me again. He's going to be like, I really want to speak to you. You're not speaking to me. What's it going to take for me to just hear your voice? I just want to tell you I'm sorry. I'm not speaking to you. I'm not giving up. I refuse to give up. I just need you to know how sorry I am. Okay. In that case, 20K to this bank account. Unless you are contacting me to tell me that you've sent me the 20K, I don't want to hear from you ever again. Ping, ping, ping. Oh, look at that. You have received 20K at HSBC. Well. Looks like I'm open to hearing what he was sorry about. And I'm still make him grovel and I'm still be a little bit cold to him because he's relieved that I'm even opening the door again. Because for a while, he thought the door would be forever shut. And he realized, okay, I sent her 20K. She sees that I'm serious about wanting this forgiveness. Now I just need to remain in her good books and hopefully she'll warm up to you again. He'll probably even do more than 20K and still be do more things for you, being extra nice to you. That's how you fucking win, man. Because men are going to do what they're going to do anyway. So if you're deciding that you want to be partnered with men, you need to understand that you are joining a circus. So make sure, are you going to be on the business side of the circus or are you going to be in the fucking mud rolling around entertaining people? Because the circus makes money. That's why the circus can tour. And there are people who run that circus and they don't have to entertain a single person. Their job is to collect the money. So which role will you play in the circus? I'm once again asking, are you going to be the clown or are you going to be the CEO of the circus who just does all the paperwork, gets your money and cuts? Because I know what role I'll be playing. You gotta have me fucked up. Here's another message I got. My ex-husband cheated on me when pregnant. My male married best friend then tried it on me at my most vulnerable. I actually believed him too, as I was so broken at the time. Thankfully, I got out before anything happened, but be careful out there. Even the good ones you've known for years can manipulate to get what they want. Even the ones who you think are your friend who appear happily married. Do you want to sit with that? I think you need to sit with that. because there's a lot going on in this one. She said that her ex-husband cheated on her while she was pregnant. Okay, that's one fireball in itself. Then she said that her married best friend, who's a guy, tried to move to her while she was vulnerable. Because your ex-husband cheating on you or not, a married man who's meant to be your best friend trying to make moves on you while he's married, welp, that's a whole separate conversation. But she said, yeah, even the good ones you've known for years can manipulate you to get what they want. Even the ones who you think are your friend, who appear happily married. I'm telling you, you lot be believing. That's why I'm like, don't believe necessarily everything you see what married women be posting. Some of these married women are posting certain things to maintain the PR for their relationship. Do you know that? What do I mean by that? I mean, the married women who be posting their, oh, me and my husband get ready with me, Instagram reel. Oh, let's play the couples game. 10 things you know about me. Oh, puts on piano music. My husband knew I was sad for the past few days, so he surprised me with roses and flowers and chocolate and stuff. Here's a cute video of us. Oh, here's some pictures of me and my husband wearing matching outfits. We're going out on our third date night of the week. Oh, here's me and my husband sit down to give you advice on how to stay happy as a couple with kids. Whole time the man is cheating. Whole time the man's a gaslighter. Whole time the man hits her. You don't know that. I don't know that, but it could be happening, and we will never know as long as these married wives maintain the PR they're maintaining for their marriages. The things married women post are intentional. Just like everybody who uses social media, by the way, we want people to see certain things for a reason. So when people are like, oh, if you want to be listening to women talk about dating, why would you listen to women who are not married? Because women who are not married are free enough to have their lives for themselves. I'm not bound to any man. So I'm not tolerating anything I don't want to be in. I have the ability to walk away. If I'm dating a man today and I want to leave tomorrow, I can do that. I'm not married to him. So you like, oh, married women know more. Okay, yeah, they know more about being disrespected. I'll give them that. If I want some insight and some knowledge on the heinous things that married men have done to married women, I would specifically go to married women for that. I want to know, because there's a lot that they're living in and they're not saying. I would go to them. That's where married women hold real estate in this conversation. They're the ones who know the most about how men are standing on their head to get to where they want to get to. God. Here's another one. I met my boyfriend and he showered me with gifts, dinners, money, laptops, cars, which enabled me to save my own money. I didn't have a great salary at the time. Being with my boyfriend has financially benefited me massively. I am now doing my PhD and he still supports me financially, like how he has always done, and we own a house together now. I still see this as financially beneficial to me. If he is dishonest to me, which he has been before in the past when he was on OnlyFans, and that didn't bother me because I know what I bring, I can walk away from this having been able to get myself in a position that I would never have had to go to without the partnership we've had. My friend did the same. Her husband was an absolute cheat during their engagement, but she still married him because he offered her money to effectively buy her off. She took it. She married him, and then she divorced him and got a house out of it. She played the long game. It sounds awful to some. This sounds awful to some, but it's sensible to girls who came from nothing. I just want to say these girls fucking ate. Okay, the last girl. That's a very me thing to do. If at all I was in that situation, that's exactly how I would have handled that. That's exactly how she said her friend did the same. Her husband was an absolute cheat during their during engagement. They're not even married yet, they're engaged, and he was still cheating while engaged. But she still married him because he offered her money to effectively buy her off. Now, the buy her off means, when someone upsets you, so you give them I'm sorry money to show how sorry you are. So that they won't unleash any consequences on you, because the consequence that he would have experienced would have been her leaving him. And he's already engaged to her. I'm sure at this point he's probably already financially invested massively in her. So it would be a huge loss for him. Financially, it would be a loss for him if she leaves. Emotionally, it would be a loss for him if she leaves. It's just not a loss that he can consider being worth it. So he would rather give her money to keep her. I know that some deluded pick-me is going to hear that and be like, see? Buying women. Is that all it takes is money to buy you off? Well, listen, Goofy, all it takes for you is words to get you stuck with that man. Who's the idiot here? You don't even get anything from these guys. You just get words. And they still do what they're going to do anyway. Talking about if a man can buy your forgiveness, what does that say about you? It says I'm smart. Men don't even give you be giving out forgiveness for free. For free. So my thing is, yes. You see, in the first portion of this message, the woman said that even though this guy was financially supporting her, he still ended up on OnlyFans. So remember what I was saying earlier about even if you partner with a man who's got money, he's still going to be a man. By choosing to date men, you're choosing to have a pet lion, guys. If you have a pet lion, no matter how nice you are to it, it's still going to bite you at some point. It might not be a hard bite. It might be a soft bite. It's still a bite from a lion, bro. That shit's going to hurt. It's a fucking lion. It's a pet lion. You, as a human being, have no business having a pet lion. But you got a pet lion. So what are you going to do about that now? Because my thing is, yes, being financially supported does not protect you from being hurt. But it does have you looking way less stupid. And it still sets you further than you would have been if you was either on your own or you was with a broke man. So girl math it. Start crunching the numbers, babe. Because your time is still going to be lost anyway. Rich or broke, you're losing time you're not going to get back. But what can you do to make that time work for you? So that by the time you have stopped wasting your time, you've got enough money to figure out better ways to use your time. Because when you're in financial survival, you don't have the time to stop, slow down and assess your life. You are in survival. You're in constant motion. So the choices you make will also be influenced by your desire to survive, which are usually more urgent choices. If you can't do that math, I can't help you. If you can't start to think critically about how you engage with men, I can't help you. And you don't need to be part of my audience. Because even this conversation that I'm sharing tidbits about from my stories that I've been reading to you guys, I have lost like 1,000 followers from having this conversation just on my stories alone, because it was married women who saw that and they were uncomfortable about it. And I completely understand. I completely get it. I completely get why married women would be uncomfortable to hear the thing that they don't want to admit to themselves. It's like if you've got a smoking addiction and you're surrounded by people who are talking about why addiction is bad and how their smoking addiction led to them getting cancer and them losing someone to cancer from their smoking addiction. You're not going to want to hear that. You're not going to be like, wow, I really want to learn more about this thing that I'm not going to quit anyway. I would love to really surround myself with people who are talking about why the thing I'm doing is going to end my life. You're not going to want to do that. So same thing applies to women who are married, who are hearing women like myself being like, girl, you've made a bad decision. It's not a nice thing to hear. I empathize with the women who don't gravitate towards my work. I get it. You're not there yet. One day you'll come back to this podcast and you are welcome. You are always welcome back here. Here's another one. I am married. He's cheated before, which was a shock at the time because this was before I discovered Slumflower. And now I'm here knowing he pays all the bills, works 2 jobs. I'm a stay-at-home mom who takes care of the house and the children, and he funds that. I refuse to work. I put on the waterwork sometimes that he works so hard and I'm not able to because we have no family support. Meanwhile, I'm doing the school run, I'm spending time with my babies, and I'm enjoying their childhoods with them. Also, I had an affair, but he turned out to be a loss as he used to nut with 2 minutes, so we stopped that. Oh my God, he used to nut within 2 minutes. But my husband is solely my financial provider, and I know that. I don't sleep with him, and if I ever do, I make sure I gain something. He doesn't like it. He says I treat sex as transactional and says I didn't marry a prostitute. Then, when the blood is flowing to his dick, he hits purchase on whatever I've asked for. I will leave one day. I'm building my funds and researching my options, but I'll do it in my own time. It benefits me to stay for now. What do we think? Because I think this is probably the most well-rounded, nuanced DM that I've read so far. Because this really does point to the reality of being a married woman and having a realization well into being married and realizing, okay, I'm in this situation now. There are kids involved. What can I do to make this as it is now work for me so that I'm empowered enough for when it's time to leave? How can I use the cards I've been dealt to my benefit? That's what I call really smart thinking. Because look, guys, like I said, you could marry the guy who fits all the best descriptions on paper. Provider, protector, in whatever context that looks like for you. You have a bond. Everything is as it should be in your eyes. You could do all of that and he could still cheat. It might not be in the first year of you being married. It might not be in the third year of you being married. It might be in the 7th year of you being married. How will you navigate that? Because for the first 7 years, everything was great. And you felt like the choices you made have been the right choices. And that's fine. Sometimes we make choices. We could do everything correctly by the book. We could do everything perfectly and men can still cheat. And that's the crux of my messaging when I say that I'm only being around men if they're making my life easier financially. Because men are still going to be men. And that needs to benefit me when it inevitably becomes an inconvenience. Because you're still going to be hurt. Remember that men are not just their money, they're people. We can form connections with people. When someone is taking care of you and making you feel good and turning you on with all that cash, you're going to form an attachment to them to some degree. And when you have an attachment to someone, you're more hurt when they break your trust. It's a human thing. It's okay to fall in love. It's okay to have connections with men who are taking care of you. That's the fucking whole point. Because when a man's taking care of you, he obviously doesn't hate you, does he? So if you are in that and there's feelings involved and then you're inevitably disappointed, how can you make that disappointment work for you? How can you navigate the situation in a way where you are still on your high horse? How can you navigate this situation in a way where the consequences he has to experience for putting himself in a position to lose you will, one, deter him from being as sloppy next time, i.e. that will then decrease the amount of times he's going to upset you because he's going to think, wait, this is going to cost me. And last time that was a fucking nightmare. She put me through it last time, and rightfully so, because I really messed up. But I don't want to mess up again because I might lose her this time round. She said I'm going to lose her this time round. So they're going to think twice because you've set a consequence and you've benefited from that consequence. So if you're married to a guy, and granted you've done it, you've done it in a way where he's got money, he takes care of you, but he still messes up, and you're like, I need to leave. I'm not happy here. But you're not going to be impulsive and act on emotion. No, you're going to use the emotion that is still hurting and still simmering in you to inform the strategy of how you are going to plan your exit so that you leave with more than you came with, okay? But you also leave knowing that you didn't fucking waste your time. You got something to show for it. You are safe. You are financially good. You have the ability to move on with your life. Even if that means you've been single for a while, you can still afford to take care of your kids because you got the money you needed from him and you were smart about it. You stacked it as you were slowly leaving. You mentally left first and then you left physically maybe 2 years later, or however long it will take you to feel safe enough and ready enough to leave. That's how you do it. You can't just be acting on emotion and being emotional. This is the one time when I agree when men say women are too emotional, because you are too emotional. You let your emotions make you marry men who are not good for you, and you let your emotions make you fumble situations that you could use the same emotion to strategically empower yourself through, because men are going to piss you off anyway. So how will you use them to empower you even when they piss you off? They shouldn't only be empowering you when they're loving you. They should also be empowering you when they fucking piss you off. So that's why you need to not be so emotionally reactive. Instead, you have to learn to be inspired by how much it's hurting, so that you will have a calmness and a coldness that will carry you through the process. That's what you're going to need to see this process through to the end. The coldness that's come from, he hurt me so much that I will get myself out of here and I'm taking this stuff with me. That will be a sweet revenge. And it's not even about revenge, but it will be part of the satisfaction of knowing that you left, you burnt him back, and you've got your freedom with you. That's how you fucking do it. That's how you fucking do it. Oh. Here's something I came across and it made me laugh so much. I think this is on Threads. It's a screenshot. It says, ladies, if your husband is overwhelmed and acting hysterical, he's trying to cook, the older kids are fighting, the baby is crying, the house is a mess, and you've invited your parents over for dinner, the best thing to do in that situation is ask, how can you help him? Have him stop what he's doing and write out a list or give you detailed instructions on how to help with his little chores. Once he's done explaining, go organise a shelf in the shed to help. It's starting to get messy in there. Now that's what I call top class sarcasm. I fucking love that. That's so jokes, because that points to the contrast in gender roles. Because you probably heard that and thought, this is ridiculous. What do you mean your husband's overwhelmed and acting hysterical because he's trying to cook and the kids are fighting and the baby's crying and the house is a mess? Men aren't responsible for that. Yeah, because who's responsible for it? Who have we thrust into that role? Women. Right then. The best thing to do in that situation is ask how you can help him. Make him write a list of things that you can do to help him. When do we ever see that happen? When do we ever see women being prompted that to have a happy marriage, you need to write him a list of things to do for the chores? To have a happy marriage with your man, you need to help him out with the childcare, because the childcare is his role. When do we ever hear to have a happy marriage with a man, you need to make sure that when he gets hysterical, you remind him that it's his hormones and you ask him if it's his time of the month, as opposed to hearing his genuine valid concerns regardless of hormones? When do you ever get told that to have a happy married life and to have a happy husband, you need to let him have his me time once in a while you watch over the kids, while you babysit your own kids as a wife? So you should let him have a nap once in a while so he can have a break from the children. That's what makes you a good wife. And you don't want to try and tell me that if I'm not married, I can't talk my shit about men. Get out of here. Could never. Marriage is a scam. And you know what? So is capitalism. So if I'm going to engage in a scam, then I'm going to make sure that I scam it back. That's how you fucking do it. Don't be scared. Don't be scared. You have the power. You've got the pussy. Marriage exists so that men can keep you bound to them. You obviously are valuable enough to them for them to create the institution in the first place. They see you as their property. So what are you going to do about that? How will you make him your property? How will you flip it for yourself? God. These DMs I've gotten. This is why I'm like, see? I knew it. Here's another one. 2 former male friends whom I never else I need. And she's right. Two former male friends who she never thought would cheat have tried to proposition her for sex. That's what they mean by fun. They've tried to ask her for sex. Married men that she never thought would cheat and who were her former friends. Jesus. Child. And even she's saying, if a man isn't making my life better physically, aka financially, what is the point? I can give myself everything else I need. This is what I'm saying. So the women who are like, I'm marrying for love, do you not have love in your life? I don't really understand that. I'm marrying for love. Don't you love yourself? Yes, of course you love yourself. So what do you mean by you're marrying for love? You're marrying because you love him. Okay, why do you love him? Because he's a good listener. Girl, why do you love him? What bills does he pay for you? What ways does he protect you from poverty? Because that to me is real, true love. You love me so much that you never want to see me be inflicted with the burden of inconvenience. Wow. So romantic. I fucking love that. Why do you love him? Why did you marry him? You married him because you have a good bond. Okay. How good is that bond? Is he bonding with your bank account as well? Because look, the ways that we can reverse engineer this, as you've probably heard me say 10 times over in the past, if you've been listening to this podcast for long enough, you will know that from the moment you meet a man, you're setting the pace. You are setting the tone from the moment you meet him. So if you meet a man in a bar and he's on some, oh, you're very sexy, what's your name? My response, maybe if you get me a drink, I might tell you my name. And then he's like, what do you want to drink? I guess I need to look at the menu. Let's go to the bar. Take him to the bar. I'm going to have a picante, please. Good choice. He gets you the picante. Now asks you your name. My name is Chidi. And he's like, oh, that's a nice name. Where's that name from? Guess what country I'm from. So we're like, People tend to tell me that I look Jamaican or I get Nigerian and Jamaican. I'm Nigerian. I don't mind Jamaican because Jamaican people are beautiful and also they're African by origin. So it's not a wild guess. Yeah, I am Nigerian. He's like, oh, what tribe? We're like, Igbo, the tribe of women who are so spoiled and taken care of. Duh. So even in the flirting, I'm still pushing propaganda. I've dropped hints. I've made him take an actionable task of buying me a drink to get to know me. Just for him to know my name, he has to buy me a drink. And now, because he's bought me the drink, I'm open to conversation. We're talking. He's asked me where I'm from. I made him guess as a fun flirting activity. Because when you make a man guess where you're from, he has to look at you. So that's a fun way to kind of like hold eye contact or like not do a sexy stare because that's just too on the nose. But it's just like he's actually getting the chance to just look at you, stand still in front of him. So he's kind of checking you out. Wink, nudge. So then when he guesses, if he guesses correctly, you'll be like, oh, well done. If he doesn't guess correctly and you correct him and tell him where you're from, if you're Nigerian like me, if you're Igbo like me, then you get to use the line of, yes, I am Igbo, the women who are spoilt and taken care of. So you've pushed the propaganda that you are used to being taken care of. And Nigerian men, if you're talking to Nigerian men, again, I always say this. If you're not a Nigerian woman, or if you don't have a backbone made of steel, stay away from Nigerian men because you're going to get eaten alive. You're not going to make it, babe. You're going to get run rings around you. They will run rings around you. You're not ready. But me, I'm an Igbo Nigerian woman. You've met your fucking match. So I know how to play the game of Nigerian men. You just have to go for their pockets because it turns them on because their pockets are next to their dick, innit? But also because it's like Nigerian men love women who have guts. They like meek women only to marry and control, but they still flirt with women who have guts because that's where the excitement actually is. Ask me how I fucking know. But it's sad. It's sad. And whilst we can sit here and laugh, it's not funny that there are women who are going through situations with men where they feel like they can't leave because they're the breadwinner, or because they're stuck for love, or they got children with that man, so they're really stuck with that man physically. I'd have strong compassion on those women. It couldn't be me. You know how I know it couldn't be me? Because there's no baby inside me, and there's no baby outside from me. I'm not pregnant, not been pregnant, not gonna be pregnant unless it's gonna benefit me. How I know it couldn't be me is because, bro, to even get into a situation where these women are in, from the moment I meet a guy, I'm already rude. So weak men get filtered out on sight because weak men don't do well with rude women. I'm rude. When a man is trying to chat me up, I'll be like, ugh, what do you want? Let's hope you're going to impress me, because I am going to be bored in the next 30 seconds if you don't make me smile. Make me laugh. And then if I deliberately give them a little giggle, they feel a sense of achievement. Now they think they're onto something. And I can just take that validation away when I feel like it, because I'm a what? Wicked woman. Fucking wicked woman. And they fucking love it here. Another message I got anonymously was, as a therapist, I advise my female clients to consider love last. Money comes first, which is very controversial for a therapist to say to a client. Personally, I'm fine not ever getting married, and would only do it if I find a man that covers 100% of the bills. These posts make me happy I'm not married. At least I have the time to choose right. Well, y'all heard it there from the therapist herself, babe. I mean, what more can I say? If a therapist is on the same wave, you in danger, girl. If you're trying to tell me that choosing a man because you love him and that is your prime prioritized reason of marrying him, you in danger, girl. You in danger, girl. Because even the therapist said, money comes first, consider love last. And you know, like, the role of a therapist, right? Then it's actually not their role to give you advice per se. It's not their place to give you advice. They're there to help you and guide you through the complicated network that is your mind and your deep subconscious. They're there to be a safe guidance. It's like a grown-up holding your inner child by the hand and taking you through a forest where all the things that have ever made you cry, and all the things that have ever made you happy, and all the things that have ever made you question yourself are all in that forest. The therapist is there for you to just feel safe, and if you need to leave, you can go and you'll find your way out. They're not there to tell you how to do your life, but once in a while, therapists, out of like care for the other person, they would probably give advice, because they're like, I know I shouldn't say this. That there's been times when my therapist has done that as well in the past, where she's been like, I know it's not my place to give you advice, but I have to just say this to you. And I always value that. So for a therapist to say, girl, even the therapist is saying, you need to get that money, girl. I don't know what to tell you, babe. I'm not gonna lie, because if the therapist didn't say that, you lot would have had me hanging by my neck, being like, yeah, this girl is just classist and she just likes money. She doesn't understand what true love is. Well, the therapist has confirmed that you do, in fact, need to put money first. And that you should, in fact, prioritize a man who's going to cover 100% of the bills over one who won't. Welp. Guys. If that does not convince you to interrogate your own pattern of movement, I don't know what will. Here's a brief message I got. I had a guy hitting on me all night, being such a gentleman. Turns out it was his stag do. I'm not even surprised by this one. Guys, when I used to strip and a group of men will come in and it's usually stag do nights, why are they in the strip club? Oh, last freedom before you get married. Oh, it's almost like men already anticipate to not feel free when they're marrying women. Because when you marry a woman and you don't have the means to actually make her feel fulfilled, then of course you're not going to feel free in that marriage, because you're trapped there by guilt and by pressure of other people around you. So your stag do is at a strip club. Your boys have paid for you to get a private dance. Your boys have paid for you to book a VIP room for 4 hours with a stripper. Do you guys know what happens in that VIP room for 4 hours? Because you know the boys don't go in there with him. It's just him. Do you know what happens in there? Anyway, I wish I could continue this conversation for even longer, because if you thought I read a lot of DMs, I have 3 times the amount of that I've got in my phone of women sending me these stories. And it's so incredible to see this varied experience of women. We've got therapists in the conversation, we've got married women, we've got sex workers, we've got single women, we've got women in their 60s. This is a universal experience. So just like how you think you're the exception, after hearing all this, you'll be, yeah, well, my man's not going to leave me there. My man's not going to cheat on me because I'm special. This is the problem. Everyone thinks like that. Everyone who's married thinks they're the exception. But statistics show otherwise. Everyone who's got a boyfriend thinks, oh, my boyfriend will never do that to me because I'm special and I'm pretty. It's not enough to be pretty. It's not enough to be nice. It's not enough to be faithful. You need to be a fucking demon. You need to be what men consider a demon, and that is autonomous, decisive, and sexy. Because demons are attractive. Men are attracted to what they consider bad things. That's why they demonize sex workers, but they be filling out the fucking strip club. Because they like it. They fucking like it. So if you want to bind yourself to a man, you're going to have to grow some guts. You're going to have to be a risk taker too. And what you consider risk might not be what I consider risk. But it's about what's relative to your situation and whether that risk will pay off. And if that risk means you're not even married, but you're a single woman and you think it's risky to flirt with men in a way where you might get money out of them, or you think it's risky to date men that you're not used to dating because your comfort zone is broke-ass men, the risk is worth exploring, because you have to ask yourself, with this risk, what do I stand to lose versus what do I stand to gain? What do men stand to lose in marriage versus what do they stand to gain in marriage? And what do women stand to lose in marriage versus what do women stand to gain in marriage? Because when we look at what men stand to lose in marriage, it's the freedom of having multiple women at once. They lose the ability to have some alone time 24/7. What do they stand to gain? A stay-at-home, live-in wife who gives them free pussy and she trades household labor for validation and affirmation and sex. So she's still sex working, but she's not getting paid. She's just getting paid in affection. Because to me, marriage is sex work. As a former sex worker, I can tell you marriage is sex work, but you're not getting money. You're just getting what you value, and that's validation and faithfulness in air quotes, because a man is only as faithful as you see him so, and a man is only as faithful as his next opportunity, and if he'll get caught in said opportunity. And again, I feel uncomfortable saying that because married women do not like to hear that. Okay? But this has been one of my favorite and riskiest episodes. I mean, if I'm going to tell you to take risks, I have to take a risk too, right? And this is the risk for me, because the only risk is that I'm going to have to be exposed to notifications of married women whining at me. Hey, what about love? But jokes aside, I'm so deeply committed and passionate about this work, because women lose their lives in marriage, okay? Women lose their futures. There are women who don't have their degrees because of a man. There are women who don't have the career they deserve because they married a man and he got her pregnant and she's stuck with that child and she's secretly resentful about that child and she's a single mother now. And nothing wrong with being a single mother, but the problem is that she thought that the child would keep them together. Guys, these are avoidable scenarios. No situation is perfect, but it can be better for you. You can benefit from it even if it's not perfect. And that's where I exist in the realm of. That's the domain I like to take up space in, because there is so much you can do here. If you just mentally emancipate yourself from needing men for love and validation and train yourself to only be turned on when they're making your life easier. That is really it. Thank you for listening to this episode. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed recording it. And as always, I will see you in the next one.